The bass line finds my spine before the lights do. I'm already 3 glasses of Prosecco in, when Marco's best friend insists I dance. It's a Friday night at Rosso, the kind of place where the bartenders know your name after one visit and the air tastes like expensive cologne and sin. Marco had promised me a low-key celebration for my promotion at the gallery. Instead, he dragged me to the VIP section of the most exclusive club in the city. And now here I am, body moving in ways my rational mind didn't approve. "You're too stiff, Julia." He's shouting over the music, grinning like an idiot. Let loose. So I do. The rhythm is hypnotic. My hips find the beat. And for the first time in months since the promotion chaos, since the long hours of authenticating Renaissance paintings, I feel my shoulders drop. The silky black dress I'd chosen swallows the strobe lights. My hair falls across my back like water. I'm not thinking about whether the Caravaggio was real or a 19th century copy anymore. I'm just existing in this pocket of bass and darkness and anonymity. That's when I feel him. Not see. Feel. The air changes. It's the only way I can describe it, like someone opened a door to somewhere cold, and a draft slipped across my exposed collarbones. I don't turn around immediately. I tell myself I'm imagining it, that the alcohol is making me hypersensitive, but my body knows better. Every nerve ending stands at attention. When I finally glance over my shoulder, I find him watching me from the corner booth. Elevated. Isolated. A man in an obsidian suit, tie loose like he'd just undone it, jaw clenched tight enough to crack stone. Dark hair slicked back from a face that shouldn't be allowed to exist, all sharp angles and dangerous shadows. And his eyes are liquid black. The kind of black that doesn't reflect light. It absorbs it. He's not smiling. He's not making any move toward me. He's simply observing. The way a predator observes prey, it hasn't decided whether to hunt or devour. My breath catches. I stop moving. Marco notices immediately. "What? What's wrong?" "That man," I say quietly. "Who is he?" Marco glances over, and something flickers across his face. Fear, maybe, or recognition. His hand finds my elbow, and suddenly he's guiding me away from the dance floor. "Don't look at him again," Marco whispers, and his voice has lost all its earlier lightness. "Come on, we're leaving." "What?" "No, Marco, we just got here." "Now, Julia, I'm serious. We need to go, now." He's already pulling out his phone, already moving toward the exit. I follow because the shift in his demeanor has triggered something primal in me, that ancient alarm bell that tells you when a predator is near, when you've wandered into territory that isn't yours. But as Marco steers me through the crowd, I make the mistake of looking back one more time. The man is gone from the booth. In the 3 seconds it took me to turn around, he vanished completely. The space is empty, abandoned, like he was never there at all. I scan the club frantically, the VIP section, the bar, the entrance, but nothing. He's dissolved into the darkness. "Faster," Marco hisses, pulling me harder. We burst through the club doors into the cool night air. The street is slick with rain that must have fallen while we were inside. My breath comes out in white clouds, and my heart is hammering in my throat like a captured bird. "What the hell was that?" I ask as Marco shoves me into a waiting taxi he's apparently summoned. "Who was that man? Why did he—" "Don't ask questions," Marco says flatly. He gives the driver my address, then turns to stare out the window. The neon signs of the city smear past like watercolors. "And don't go back there. Not ever. Understand? This is insane. You can't just—" "I can't?" He finally looks at me, and I barely recognize him. The funny, careless Marco I've known for 5 years has been replaced by someone hollowed out and afraid. Julia. Some men aren't for looking at. That's all you need to know. The rest of the ride is silent. When we pull up to my apartment building, Marco walks me to the door, even though I tell him not to. He keeps scanning the street, keeps his hand on my back like he's shielding me from something I can't see. Once inside, he checks every room of my apartment with an intensity that borders on paranoia. "Lock everything," he finally says at my door. "Don't open it for anyone you don't know. And if anything strange happens, if you see anything unusual, call me immediately. Not the police. Me. You're scaring me," I whisper. "Good," he says. "You should be scared." After he leaves, I stand in my apartment small, cluttered with art books and gallery catalogs, so thoroughly normal, and I can't stop replaying that moment. The weight of his stare, the absolute certainty in my body that I'd just made eye contact with danger incarnate. I pour myself water, then wine, then more water. My phone buzzes an hour later. Unknown number. My finger hovers over the notification. I don't open it, but I screenshot the number anyway, and I don't sleep that night. 3 days pass in careful normalcy. I go to work at Ferrante and Associates, the gallery where I've just been promoted to authentication specialist. The job is everything I've worked toward, sifting through the provenance of old paintings, confirming which ones are genuine Madonnas, or Baroque nightmares versus elaborate fakes. It's solitary work, quiet. I spend most of my time in the climate-controlled archive rooms with paintings that have seen centuries and centuries of human violence and devotion. The paintings, at least I understand. What I don't understand is Marco. He won't answer my calls. His texts are terse, evasive. Everything's fine. Just stay home more. Be careful. And the feeling that I'm being watched. It starts small, a shadow that lingers a moment too long when I exit the gallery. The repeated coffee order from the cafe across the street. Same truck, same time. But the driver changes every day. The way people's eyes slide off me when I'm walking, deliberate and trained, like they've been instructed not to see me. By Wednesday, I'm certain. I call my friend Alessia, who works in insurance fraud and has cop connections. I meet her at a small restaurant in the San Frediano district, the kind of place where old women make fresh pasta and the walls are painted the color of old blood. Someone's following me, I tell her, cutting straight to it. Alessia sets down her Prosecco carefully. Who? I don't know. But it started after Friday night at Rosso. I was there with Marco, and there was this man. Stop. Alessia's voice is sharp. Stop talking. How many people know you went to Rosso? Just me, Marco, and what? A coat check? A bartender? Security camera? I don't know. Maybe a dozen people saw me dancing, but... Describe the man. I do. Dark suit, dark eyes, that presence that makes the air colder. Alessia goes very still. She sips her wine. She doesn't order another. Don't go back there, she finally says. That's what Marco said. But nobody will tell me why. Because some people operate in a world where being seen is dangerous, for both parties. Alessia leans forward. Julia, I say this with love. You need to go home, lock your door, and pretend last Friday didn't happen. Delete your location history. Tell your friends you're taking a vacation. And stop asking questions. I'm not asking questions. I'm just trying to understand. Understanding is a luxury you can't afford right now. I leave the restaurant feeling hollowed out. The city around me, the cobblestone streets, the tourists, the eternal traffic, all of it feels like a stage set, like I've stumbled into the wrong production, and nobody's bothered to tell me what play I'm in. That night, there's a knock at my apartment door. My heart nearly stops. I check the peephole. Nobody. The hallway is empty. But there's a white envelope slid under my door. My name is written on it in handwriting that looks like it was carved with a knife, all sharp angles and deliberate pressure. Inside, a single card. No words, just an address and a time. Thursday, midnight. Via dei Veluti, Building 4, come alone. I burn the card, but I remember the address. It's in the warehouse district, the industrial section of the city where the old trade routes used to run, where, according to local legend, certain things happen that never get reported. Thursday arrives like a sentence. I tell myself I'm not going. I'm an art authenticator. I have a small apartment and a smaller life, and zero reason to go chasing down cryptic messages from men with predatory eyes. I tell myself this while I shower, while I stand in front of my closet, while I apply mascara at 11:47 p.m. I tell myself as I'm locking my door and heading for the Via dei Veluti. The warehouse district is a different city entirely. Here, the buildings are brutalist concrete and broken windows. The streetlights are sparse and flickering. My phone GPS nearly loses signal twice. I'm the only person walking the only heartbeat I can hear besides my own. Building 4 is a converted warehouse with a single black door and no markings. I knock. The door opens immediately, like someone's been waiting. But there's nobody there, just a hallway that descends into shadow, and, somewhere in that darkness, the sound of classical music. Chopin, I think. A nocturne. Every instinct screams at me to run. Every survival neuron is firing warnings. I step inside anyway. The hallway opens into something unexpected. A study. Real books, leather-bound, floor to ceiling. A fireplace with actual flames. And in a high-backed chair with its back to me, a man's silhouette. You came, he says quietly. His voice is low, the kind that carries weight without raising volume. I wasn't sure you would. He turns around. It's him. the man from the club, but different. He's discarded the suit jacket. His shirt is unbuttoned at the collar, and something about that small vulnerability makes him more dangerous, not less, like he's confident enough not to hide. "Who are you?" I ask. My voice is steadier than my hands. "Someone who saw you and couldn't forget." He stands slowly. "My name is Dante Rossi." The name lands like a stone dropped into still water. I know that name. I've heard it whispered in conversations that stopped when I entered. It's a name that attaches itself to words like organization, business, untouchable. I can't finish. I'm not even sure what I'm accusing him of. "A businessman," he says, "complicated, dangerous, and very, very interested in you." "I don't know you." "No," he agrees, "but that will change." He takes a step toward me, and every cell in my body vibrates with the need to run. Instead, I stand absolutely still, the way you stand still when you see something wild and powerful and utterly unpredictable. "Why am I here?" I whisper. "Because," Dante says. And now he's close enough that I can smell him smoke and expensive cologne, and something darker underneath, like blood that's been meticulously cleaned away. "I don't share. And you, Julia, have been seen. By me. And that means you're mine now, whether you like it or not." The room spins, and I realize with absolute certainty that my ordinary life has just ended. I don't sleep for 2 days. I'm terrified that if I close my eyes, I'll wake up in the warehouse. I'm terrified that if I don't close my eyes, the exhaustion will make me hallucinate him even more vividly. Dante Rossi has moved into my mind like an infestation, his voice, his presence. That casual possessiveness that should repel me but instead has cracked something open in my chest. "You're mine now, whether you like it or not." I go through the motions of work on Friday. I authenticate a Madonna and Child that's almost certainly 17th century, though someone's painted over portions of the infant's face. I catalog the brushstrokes, the ochre undertones, the deliberate damage that suggests someone wanted to hide something in the original composition. I know exactly how that feels. That's when Marco appears at the gallery, unannounced, looking like he hasn't slept either. "Tell me you didn't go to Via dei Veluti," he says without preamble. The fact that he knows sends ice through my veins. "How do you—" "Because Dante called me. He wanted to confirm that you're authentic, that you're not working for anyone, that you haven't been sent as some kind of spy or trap." Marco takes my arm, guides me toward the back office, away from the curator. "Jesus Christ, Julia, do you understand what you've done? I was invited." "Exactly, and you went, because you're curious and reckless, and you don't understand that some men collect women the way other men collect paintings." He shoves his hand through his hair, frustrated and afraid. Dante doesn't court people. He doesn't date, he acquires. And now he's acquired you. That's insane. I'm a person, not a Caravaggio. I know that. You know that. But Dante? He doesn't really believe in that distinction. I sink into the office chair, and the weight of what he's saying presses down on me like a physical thing. "Why didn't you tell me? Before the club? Before any of this?" "Because I didn't know he'd notice you." Dante lives in a different world, Julia. He moves through the city like he owns it because in many ways, he does. The restaurants, the clubs, half the police force, it's all either his or pays tribute to him. Marco's voice drops even lower. He's not just a businessman. He's a crime boss. Mafia. The real thing, not some movie version. And now you've got his attention. The words should feel shocking. Instead, they click into place with the accuracy of a key turning in a lock. The surveillance, the careful erasure of normal rules, the way people looked at him in the club like he was a force of nature. Of course he was. What does he want? I ask quietly. I don't know. But whatever it is, you're going to have to give it to him, because if you don't, it'll be worse for everyone. Over the next week, I realize Marco is right. I start noticing the men. They're subtle, one in the cafe where I get my morning espresso, another loitering near my apartment building. They're not threatening. They're just present, watching, making sure I don't leave the invisible boundaries that have been drawn around my life. Then, on Thursday evening, my phone rings. An unknown number. I should ignore it. Instead, I answer. Don't go to work tomorrow, Dante says without greeting. Wear the black dress from the club. Be ready at 7. I'm not. He's already hung up. I do exactly what he said. The car that picks me up is a black Aston Martin with tinted windows and a driver who doesn't speak or make eye contact. We drive for 20 minutes through the city before climbing into the hills. The landscape changes the urban sprawl, giving way to olive groves and stone villas that have been weathered by centuries. We arrive at a palazzo. It's enormous, the kind of place that should be in a museum or owned by a minor royal family. Cream-colored marble, Art Deco balustrades. A garden that looks like something from a Renaissance painting. The driver opens my door and escorts me to the entrance, where Dante is waiting. He's wearing a cream linen shirt, sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms that are scarred old scars, pale against tanned skin. He looks less like a crime boss tonight and more like a man who has simply decided that the rules of society are a suggestion. "You came," he says, as if there was ever any possibility that I wouldn't. "I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. You chose to come." He leads me through corridors lined with paintings, real paintings. I notice immediately. My authentication instinct firing. There's a Caravaggio. An actual Caravaggio, stolen from a church in Naples in 1969, and never recovered. I stop moving. "You see it," Dante says. "That's, you stole. I acquired it from someone who stole it. There's a distinction." He touches the small of my back, guiding me forward. "I have 3 stolen Caravaggios in this house, plus 8 more paintings you'd recognize. I have things that museums thought were lost forever. I have a Vermeer that disappeared in 1941. Why are you telling me this?" "Because," he says, and now we're in a dining room where a table is laid with food and wine. "I need someone who can authenticate them. Someone who can make sure that what I have is real. Someone I can trust completely." He pulls out a chair for me, and I realize with a sinking certainty what's happening. This isn't seduction. This is acquisition. He's building a case, making me indispensable. "And if I refuse?" I ask. He sits across from me, candlelight catching the sharp line of his jaw. "Then people I care about suffer, which includes you, your friend Marco, and Alessia, who works in insurance fraud and has been trying to help you understand what you've stumbled into." The breath leaves my lungs. "You wouldn't." "I would, and I will, if necessary. But I don't want it to be necessary." He reaches across the table, his finger finding my wrist. His touch is gentle, terrifying. I've built an empire by never wanting anything I can't have, by taking what interests me and keeping it safe. You're both, Julia. You interest me, and I'm very good at keeping things safe. I should feel violated. Instead, I feel the weight of his attention like a blanket that's far too heavy and far too warm. "This is kidnapping," I whisper. "This is inevitability," he corrects. "You walked into my club. You looked at me. You came when I called. Every choice was yours." But as he feeds me wine and pasta made with truffle oil, as candlelight dances across his scarred forearms, as he tells me about the paintings and the empire and the way the city really works, I understand something terrible. I'm not being held captive. I'm surrendering. 2 weeks pass, in a strange suspension of reality. I move into the palazzo. Dante insists on it not as an ultimatum, but as a question that's already been answered. My apartment is cleared out, my things retrieved, my old life carefully archived like a painting consigned to storage. The palazzo becomes my world. I authenticate his collection. A Titian from the 16th century, real. A Rembrandt sketch. There's an issue with the provenance, likely a reproduction. 7 paintings attributed to minor Renaissance masters that are almost certainly not what they claim to be. I spend my days in a climate-controlled room, deep in the villa, examining brushstrokes and paper composition, and the specific way different centuries applied gold leaf. It's the work I love. It's just that the wages are paid in freedom. Dante doesn't touch me. This is what undoes me most. He's respectful, even courtly. He leaves me alone in the painting room for hours. He has meals sent in. He never enters without knocking, never suggests anything beyond proximity, but he watches, from doorways, through the glass partition that separates the study from the authentication room. During dinners where he tells me about his business empire, in the most clinical terms, shipping routes, real estate investments, protection services that amounts to extortion, while I push food around a plate and try not to meet his eyes. The first sign of danger comes on a Friday. The staff is sparse. Dante keeps a small team for personal security and household management. Nothing ostentatious. But I notice when new men arrive, when Dante's usual pleasant demeanor cracks just slightly. He takes calls in his study that end with his hand slamming against the desk hard enough that I can hear it from 2 rooms away. Something is wrong. There's a situation. He finally tells me that evening. We're in the library, and he's standing by the fireplace with a glass of whiskey. the flames catching gold in his dark eyes. Nothing that affects you directly. But it means my attention needs to be elsewhere. A situation with what? With business. With certain people who've forgotten that my family built this city. He takes a drink. Compete with me, and I crush you. That's always been the arrangement. Someone's not following the arrangement? Not recently, but they will. There's a finality in his voice that terrifies me. I've learned a lot about Dante over these 2 weeks, his tastes in art and wine. The fact that he reads Dante Alighieri and Byron in Italian, that he sleeps no more than 4 hours a night, but I haven't truly learned what he's capable of. The next morning, I see it. I'm in the authentication room when his driver, Paolo, escorts a man in. The man is bleeding. Not profusely, it's controlled bleeding, the kind that results from deliberate, educated violence. There's a cut above his eye. His ribs move wrong when he breathes. Paolo deposits him in one of the Palazzo's offices and closes the door. I don't see Dante enter. I just feel the shift in air pressure, the way the house contracts when he passes through it. 3 hours later, the man is gone. The office is immaculate. There's no blood on the marble floors, no evidence that violence ever occurred at all. Don't ask about that, Dante says, appearing at the doorway of the authentication room as if summoned by my anxiety. Don't ask about anything you see or don't see in this house. Was that? I can't make myself say it. Information gathering, he says flatly. He had information I needed. I extracted it. You tortured him. I protected my interests. There's a difference. But I can see the calculation in his eyes. He's assessing whether this will push me to run, whether I'll try to leave now that I understand fully what he is. He's given me a choice, really. Stay, knowing what I know, or leave, knowing what comes after. I'm not going anywhere, I hear myself say. Something shifts in his face. Relief? Respect? No, he agrees. You're not. That night, he comes to my room, not to the bedroom. I have a suite adjoining his in the palazzo, a space that's become mine. He knocks on the door between our rooms, and when I open it, he's standing there in just a shirt and pants, and for the first time, he looks almost uncertain. I need you to understand something, he says quietly. What you've become to me isn't casual. It isn't passing interest. I don't release things I've decided to keep, and I've decided to keep you. Is that a compliment or a threat? Yes, he says, and then he's kissing me. It's not gentle. It's possessive and deep, and tasting of whiskey and obsession. His hands find my face, my hair, the curve of my waist, like he's trying to memorize me through touch alone. I'm gasping against his mouth, and he pulls back just enough to look at me. Tell me you feel this, he whispers. I feel. I don't understand what I feel. That's fine, he says. I understand enough for both of us. He leaves before it can go further, closing the connecting door with a finality that leaves me shaking. I don't sleep that night. I replay his kiss, his words, the feeling of his hands like they were trying to pull me into him. By morning, I understand that I'm in love with a monster. It's not romantic love. It's a darker thing. An attachment born of proximity and danger. Of being seen by someone powerful enough to erase you. Of the seductive comfort of having all choices made for you. That's when the second threat arrives. It comes as a message left on my painting table, just a photograph. No note. It shows me leaving my old apartment. It shows me in the club at Rosso. It shows me getting into Dante's car. But the most recent image shows me here, at the palazzo, sleeping, a photograph taken through my bedroom window. I find Dante in his study, and I'm shaking as I hand him the picture. His face goes absolutely still. Not angry, something far worse. Controlled. Where was this? He asks. On my table, in the authentication room. How did someone get inside the house? He doesn't wait for an answer. He's already on the phone, already issuing orders in a voice that makes my blood freeze. Within minutes, the palazzo transforms. Armed men sweep through rooms, windows are checked, reinforcements arrive. We're going somewhere safe, Dante says, and he's gathering me up, pulling me toward the back exit. Who? Who would? Someone who thinks they can hurt me by hurting you. The drive is frantic. We're not taking the main roads. Dante's navigating back streets and private drives, and the driver, not Paolo, is pushing the car to dangerous speeds. The casino family, Dante finally says as we're driving through the countryside. They've been encroaching on my territory, testing my boundaries. Someone must have shown them that you exist, that I've made myself vulnerable. I've made you vulnerable? Yes, You have. Being capable of love is the greatest weakness a man like me can have. He reaches over and takes my hand. His grip is hard, unforgiving. I'm going to end this. I'm going to make sure nobody ever thinks about using you against me again. How? I ask, and I already know the answer. Blood, he says simply. That's the only language that matters in my world. We arrive at a different property, a smaller villa, hidden in the mountains. It's late evening, and the only lights are the ones Dante turns on as we enter. A safe house. A place where violence happens far from witnesses. He holds me against him that night, and I feel the rapid beat of his heart, the controlled rage beneath his skin. His fingers trace my spine like he's making sure I'm still real, still present, still his. Don't let them take me, I whisper into the darkness. Never, he says. I'd burn the whole city down first, and I believe him completely. The war comes silently. There are no dramatic confrontations, no scenes of violence that unfold in front of me. Instead, there's tension that lives beneath everything, a constant, low hum of danger that vibrates through the safe house like an electrical current. Dante leaves for hours, sometimes entire days. When he returns, he smells like gasoline and smoke. His knuckles are sometimes bruised. Once, he has a cut along his collarbone that he explains away with a shrug. It's handled, is all he'll say. I stop asking. Instead, I focus on the small gallery of paintings he's had moved to the safe house. A Botticelli study, a Bronzino portrait. Nothing that challenges my expertise, just work that's meant to keep me occupied while he's gone. Keep me from thinking too hard about what's happening in the city below. Marco calls once. Dante answers. Your friend is worried, he says, handing me the phone. Tell him you're fine. I do. Marco doesn't believe me. Julia, there are bodies, he says quietly, the phone pressed close to his mouth. In the Port District, in Casina. The casino organization is being dismantled. Slowly, professionally. Dante's sending a message. He's protecting me. He's creating a war for you. I didn't ask him to. He didn't ask for permission. That's not how he works. Dante takes the phone back before I can say anything else. The third week of the war, everything changes. I'm alone in the villa. It's one of the rare moments Dante has left me for more than a few hours. The safe house feels cavernous when he's not in it. All echoing hallways and shadows that seem to move independently. I'm examining the Botticelli study when I hear the sound of a car arriving. Not Dante. The driver is wrong. My body knows before my mind does. I'm on my feet, moving toward the back exit, when the front door explodes inward. Men pour in, 5 of them, armed, professional. The kind of men who know how to move through a space as a unit. One of them spots me, and his hand moves to his gun. Don't, comes a voice from behind me. I spin around to find Dante in the back doorway. And he's not just armed, he's a different version of himself entirely. Controlled fury given human form. His gun is already drawn, already aimed, the motion so economical and practiced that it barely registers as movement. She comes with us. The man with the gun says. She doesn't. Then we burn her. Dante doesn't hesitate. He fires. The sound in the confined space is deafening. The man drops. The others move to aim. And Dante is already moving. Already firing again. It's not like the movies. There's no extended gunplay. No dramatic dialogue. It's efficient. Brutal. A man who knows exactly how to eliminate threats in the smallest number of movements possible. 4 more shots. 4 more men down. The last one is running, and Dante lets him go. We need to leave, he says, taking my hand. His gun is still in his other hand, but his voice is completely calm. That was reconnaissance. They're testing my defenses. The real attack will come tonight. We drive north, away from the city, away from the mountains. Somewhere that's not prepared. That's off the network. Dante has been planning this. I realize alternate routes, backup safe houses, escape vectors that change depending on threat level. We end up in a small hunting lodge in Tuscany, in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by rolling hills and vineyards that look like they've existed forever. This is temporary, Dante tells me, and he's finally starting to look affected by what's happened. His shirt has blood on it that's not his. His hands are shaking slightly. Once I've settled this, we'll go somewhere else. Somewhere far enough away that my enemies can't reach us. We, I repeat. Yes, we. You're not going back to your old life. You understand that? I think I've understood that since the warehouse. He finally looks at me, and his expression is raw. I want you to be clear about what's happening. The casino family is dying because they tried to use you. I'm letting them die slowly, specifically because they tried to hurt you. This is who I am, Julia. This is what I do for people I care about. How many have you killed? Directly? In the past 3 weeks? 11. Indirectly? I've ordered strikes that have probably resulted in twice that. There are people in this city right now who are dying because they got between me and my need to protect you. I didn't ask for that, I know. But you got it anyway. He leaves me in the lodge while he handles logistics. I'm alone with the weight of what's happened, with the knowledge that I'm responsible for a body count, with the understanding that love, if that's what this is, has a price in blood. I call Alessia. He's destroyed the casino organization, she tells me without preamble. It took 3 weeks, but they're gone, all of them. Even the younger members who had nothing to do with the situation, he's making sure there's no one left to remember the slight. That's insane. That's Dante Rossi, Alessia says flatly. He's a predator, Julia, and you've become his obsession. There are women who would consider this romantic. I consider it terrifying. I can't leave him. I know. That's the worst part. I can see that you can't. That night, I'm standing on the lodge's balcony when Dante arrives. He looks destroyed, exhausted, violent, but also strangely relieved. He's already washed the blood away, but I can still see it in the set of his jaw, in the wild light in his eyes. It's done, he says. They've surrendered. What's left of them is fleeing the city. How many? Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. How many? 26, he says quietly. 26 people died because they threatened you. I should feel horror. Instead, I feel the weight of his devotion, dark and terrible and completely real. He's destroyed his entire security situation for me. He's made himself vulnerable to every rival organization in the city. He's burned his empire's goodwill to prove a point. Why would you do that? I ask. Because, he says, pulling me close. The moment I saw you dancing in that club, I knew I'd burn down the world if it meant keeping you. I just needed an excuse. He kisses me then, and it's different than before. It's not possession, it's desperation. And I kiss him back like I'm drowning and he's the only hand available to pull me under. We stay in the hunting lodge for a month. It's a strange existence suspended between the violence that's ended and the violence that's waiting. Dante rebuilds his organization methodically. Phone calls at all hours. Men arriving with reports of territory secured, rivals neutralized. The fragile peace of the underworld being recalibrated to account for the fact that Dante Rossi is more dangerous than anyone thought. And in the spaces between violence, there's us. There's the morning I find him in the library, reading Byron, and I ask him what it's like to live with the knowledge that you've destroyed dozens of lives. There's the evening he falls asleep on my shoulder while we're listening to Chopin, and I sit perfectly still for 2 hours rather than disturb him. There's the night he wakes screaming from a nightmare and I hold him without asking what he's dreaming about, because I already know he's dreaming about losing me the way he lost someone once before. I had a sister, he finally tells me one afternoon. We're in the lodge's small study. Afternoon light golden through the windows. Her name was Katerina. She was younger than me, softer than me. She believed that people were inherently good, that redemption was possible. He's staring at the fireplace, not at me. What happened to her? A rival family took her to get leverage over my father. It was 1,998. I was 17. They kept her for 3 months. He finally looks at me. When we got her back, she wasn't the same person. She never spoke again. She died when she was 26. Suicide, officially. But I know the truth. Dante, I've spent 25 years making sure nobody would ever try that again. I've spent 25 years being so ruthless that the thought of crossing me is enough to stop people from acting. And then you walked into my club, and suddenly I understood that I'd built my entire empire on a foundation of fear. And fear isn't enough to protect the people you love. So you switch strategies. I switched to annihilation. Total destruction of any threat. No mercy. No negotiation. He reaches over and takes my hand. You asked why I'd do that for you. It's because losing you would break me in ways that losing Katerina did, and I can't afford to be broken. That's not love, I say quietly. That's possession. That's making me responsible for your emotional stability. I know. He doesn't deny it. I'm aware that what I feel is probably not healthy, but I also don't care. The world operates on the principle that the strong dominate the weak. I'm strong, and you're mine. That's the arrangement. What if I don't want to be yours? His jaw clenches. Then I'll keep you anyway and deal with the consequences. It should terrify me. Instead, it feels like honesty. Like the first moment in weeks, where he's told me the truth without disguise or softening. I'm falling in love with you, I say, and the words feel like surrender. I know, that's not fair. You've made this situation impossible. You've trapped me here through violence and isolation, and the fact that I'm genuinely afraid of what would happen if I tried to leave. I know, he repeats. And you don't care. No, he agrees. I don't. He pulls me toward him, and we fall into the couch like gravity has changed. His hands are everywhere, my back, my thighs, my face, and he's kissing me like he's trying to merge us into a single organism. I'm not resisting. I'm matching his intensity, my nails finding the skin of his shoulders, my mouth opening to him completely. I need to be inside you, he whispers against my neck. I need to know that you're real, and that this is real, and that you're not going to disappear the moment I stop looking at you. He's still speaking when he enters me, a low groan that sounds like relief and agony combined. It's not gentle. It's a claiming, a marking, a primitive assertion of possession that should feel degrading but instead feels like the most honest thing we've done. Look at me, he demands. I want you looking at me. So I do. I watch his face as he moves inside me, the concentration, the vulnerability, the raw need that's written across every feature. This is the crack in his armor, I realize. This moment where the untouchable crime boss becomes just a man who's desperate not to lose something he's finally allowed himself to need. Afterward, we lie on the couch in the dying afternoon light, and he's holding me like I might evaporate. I'm going to do something, he finally says. I'm going to take us off the grid. We're going to disappear completely. New identities, new location, everything. No more looking over our shoulders. No more waiting for the next threat. How? Money. Connections. I have resources that most people can't even imagine. I can remake ourselves. So we run. So we survive, he corrects. There's a difference. The next morning, Dante's gone. He leaves a note written in his precise handwriting, getting everything in place. Trust me, when I return, we leave. But he doesn't return that evening. Or the next day. By the third day, I'm afraid. Dante's absence is like a missing breath that slowly asphyxiates. I tell myself he's handling logistics, that he's setting up the infrastructure for disappearance, that these things take time, but the lodge is too quiet, and my mind fills the silence with possibilities. He's been arrested. He's been killed. He's changed his mind about me and decided that the cage he built isn't worth the effort. On the fourth day, Marco arrives. He pulls up in a nondescript car and finds me in the garden, and I can see immediately that something has shattered. His face is gray, hollowed out. What? I ask before he even speaks. What happened? There's been a development, Marco says carefully. It involves Dante and someone from his past. He drives me to a cafe in Florence, and there, sitting at a small table in the corner, is a woman. She's beautiful in a severe way, dark hair styled in a precise bob, makeup applied like she's preparing for war. But it's her eyes that catch me. They're Dante's eyes. Not the color hers are green, but the same cold intelligence, the same capacity for violence that never quite fully leaves. You're Giulia, the woman says. Not a question. I'm Vittoria Rossi, Dante's older sister, and I'm here to explain why my brother is an idiot. Nice to meet you too, I say, sitting down. Is it? Vittoria orders an espresso without looking at the waiter. Because I don't think it will be. I think you're going to hate me in about 5 minutes. She's right. Dante's not who you think he is, Vittoria begins. He's not a crime boss who fell in love with a beautiful woman. He's a strategist who identified you as a valuable asset and built an entire narrative around possession to keep you compliant. You're lying. I wish I were. She leans forward. The club wasn't chance. I sent someone to brief Dante about the event, and I sent someone else to make sure you were there. Everything that's happened, the warehouse, the paintings, the casino war, it was all orchestrated. My hands have gone numb. No. The photographs left in the palazzo? Dante arranged those. He needed to escalate your sense of dependency on him. The casino family wasn't actually testing his boundaries. He created the conflict to demonstrate his control and his willingness to be ruthless on your behalf. You're trying to drive a wedge between us. I'm trying to save you from my brother, Vittoria says, and for the first time, I hear something genuine in her voice. Dante has always been broken. After what happened to Caterina, he stopped processing humans as people and started processing them as chess pieces. You're a beautiful, Intelligent woman, with an eye for authenticity. He wanted you as his personal art collection. But nothing more. He loves me. He loves the idea of you. There's a difference. Vittoria sits back. I'm here because I'm tired of watching him destroy people. Because Katerina would have wanted me to stop him. And because I'm fairly certain that you're not the type of woman who wants to spend the rest of her life as a very beautiful captive. She slides a folder across the table. Inside are photographs. Dante in the club before I arrived, being briefed about my presence. Documents showing payment to the man who followed me in the first place. Bank records for the casino family showing that they never actually encroached on Dante's territory. The whole conflict was manufactured. And there's a tape. An actual cassette tape with a label in Dante's handwriting. Original notes on the project. I don't listen to it. I can't. Instead, I ask the one question that matters. Why are you telling me this? Because my brother is about to propose that you disappear with him completely. New names, new country, complete isolation from everyone you've ever known, and he'll make it sound romantic like you're choosing love over safety. But what you'll really be doing is walking into a cage that's been custom built to contain you forever. Marco's been quiet through all of this. Now he leans forward and says quietly, Vittoria's telling the truth. You knew? I suspected. I didn't have proof until she arrived with it. I feel the room spinning. Everything I've allowed myself to believe is now suspect. The devotion, the violence, the way he moved through the world like I was his center point, all of it could be performance. All of it could be exactly what Vittoria is saying. A narrative constructed to keep me compliant. But then I remember his face when he said he'd burn down the city for me. I remember his body shaking when he held me after killing those men. I remember the desperation in his kiss. I need to talk to him, I say. Of course you do, Vittoria says, and she sounds almost sad. That's the hook. He's built a narrative where talking to him is the only way to reassure yourself. But words are cheap, and Dante is the best liar I know. I leave the cafe in a daze. The drive back to the hunting lodge takes hours, and every minute of it is agony. By the time I arrive, it's midnight, and the lodge is dark. I find him in the library, sitting in the same chair where he told me about Katerina, and the sight of him undoes me completely. Your sister was here, I say. His face doesn't change. I know, she called me. She told me this was all orchestrated. That you manufactured everything. Did she? He stands slowly, and there's something calculating in his movement. And what do you believe? I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know what's real anymore. He comes toward me, but I step back. Don't, I say. Just don't touch me until you tell me the truth. The truth is complicated, Dante says. Yes, I arranged the club. Yes, I orchestrated certain events. But not for the reasons Vittoria suggested. Then why? Because when I first saw the surveillance photos of you, when I learned you existed something in me, recognized something in you, and I needed to know you. I needed to be sure you were real, and that what I felt was real. That's not an excuse for manipulation. I know. There is no excuse. He sinks back into the chair. I created a situation and controlled all the variables because I was terrified that if I approached you honestly, you'd see what I am and you'd run. You'd be right to run. So I built a cage and convinced you that staying in it was your choice. Was any of it true? Do you actually love me? His laugh is bitter. That's the cruelest part of all of this. I do. Completely. Irrevocably. And I love you despite the fact that I created the situation that made you fall in love with me. I love you knowing that the foundation of this relationship is lies. The words land like stones. I can't do this, I whisper. I know. You've made me complicit in your manipulation. You've made me doubt my own reality. That's not love, Dante. That's a crime. I know, he repeats, and he looks destroyed. I know. And I'll accept the consequences of that. I leave him in the library and go to pack my things. I make it 3 days before they find me. I've gone to ground with Alessia in Rome, telling her enough that she understands I need to disappear. We've checked into a modest hotel in Trastevere, and I've been spending my time walking the city's ancient streets, trying to recalibrate my sense of what's real. The problem is that my body still remembers him. It remembers the weight of his hands, the taste of his mouth, the way he said my name like it was both prayer and curse. Everything Vittoria said about manipulation might be true, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm in love with him, or with the version of him that exists only when we're alone together. That's when the violence finds me. I'm walking through the ghetto when the car pulls up. It's not Dante's. The men inside aren't his security team. They're hired muscle, the kind that international organizations use when they want deniability. They're moving toward me when Dante appears. I don't see where he comes from. One moment, I'm about to be abducted, and the next, he's between me and the threat, and he's moving in that economical way I've learned to recognize as absolute lethal intent. He doesn't use a gun. He uses his hands. The first man goes down with a broken kneecap. The second with what I'm fairly certain is a collapsed trachea. The third attempts to run, and Dante lets him go not out of mercy, but because he's already analyzed that this one isn't a threat. The car speeds away, and Dante turns to me, and I can see blood on his face that's not his own. "What are you doing here?" I demand. "Saving your life. Again. I left you. We're done." "No," he says flatly. "We're not. We're done when I decide we're done, and I'm not ready to make that decision." He grabs my wrist and pulls me toward a motorcycle that's parked nearby. I try to resist, but he's too strong, too determined, and within seconds we're on the bike and roaring through the narrow streets of Rome. We don't stop until we're at an airport, a private airfield on the city's outskirts. "Where are we going?" I demand as he's dragging me toward a plane. "Away from people who want to use you to hurt me," he says. "And away from you making decisions based on emotional impulse rather than survival instinct. You don't get to decide that for me. Watch me." He shoves me inside the plane, and it takes off before I can even process what's happening. We're airborne within minutes, and Dante is finally releasing me, finally stepping back to give me space. "Whoever attacked you wasn't Casino," he says calmly. "They were Syrian, which means someone from the European organization has decided to move against me, which means you're still a target, which means you can't just go off on your own and expect to survive. So what? I'm supposed to stay with you? After everything?" "Yes, that's exactly what you're supposed to do." He wipes blood from his face. "You're furious with me. You believe I manipulated you. You think you don't trust me. And none of that matters because you're alive, and I intend to keep you that way. That's not love. That's obsession." "Probably," he agrees, "but it's also reality. I am obsessed with you. I will never not be obsessed with you. And you can spend the rest of your life fighting that. Or you can accept it and find a way to make peace with what we are." The plane is flying east toward the Mediterranean, I think, based on the light. Dante disappears into a back cabin to clean the blood, and I'm left alone with the roar of the engines and the terrible knowledge that he's right. I can't survive alone. The moment I tried, multiple organizations realized I was available, unprotected. I'm trapped not by him, but by the reality of his world. When he returns, I ask the question that matters. "Were you always like this, or did I make you worse?" He considers this honestly. "Probably worse. But also, I've been like this since Katerina. The difference is that now I have something to be like this for. Before, it was just rage burning in a void. I don't know how to live like this," I whisper. "I know, but you will." He sits across from me. "We're going to a property in Montenegro. It's remote, it's secure, and it's where we're going to figure out what happens next. And if I refuse, then I'll have you sedated and brought anyway, because I'm past the point of offering choices." At least he's honest. The property in Montenegro is a fortress carved into a cliffside overlooking the Adriatic. It's beautiful in a brutal way, all gray stone and narrow windows positioned for defense. The staff is minimal and heavily armed. There are no phones, no internet, no way to contact the outside world. I am, officially, his prisoner. Dante spends the first evening showing me around the compound, explaining its security features and defensive capabilities like he's showing me a museum. Here is where guards rotate. Here is the panic room. Here is the communications center that's been deliberately disconnected. "How long do you expect me to stay here?" I ask as night falls. "Until the situation resolves," he says. "Until people stop trying to use you against me. Until I'm convinced you won't run the moment I turn my back. And if none of those things happen," he pulls me close, and his voice is soft in my ear, "then you stay forever, and you learn to be happy here, because the alternative is unacceptable to me." That night, I sleep in his arms, not because I want to, but because the fortress is cold and I'm afraid, and his warmth is the only thing that makes the darkness bearable. Time moves differently in the fortress. There are no calendars, no way to track days except by the position of the sun. A week passes, or maybe it's 2 weeks. Dante teaches me about his empire, not the violence, but the mechanics, the legitimate businesses that provide cover for the organization, the political connections, the way certain cities operate on his infrastructure. He's not just a crime boss, He's a system. Removing him would create a vacuum that the entire region would collapse to fill. Is that supposed to make me feel better? I ask one evening. We're on the cliff edge, looking at the Adriatic spreading below us in shades of blue and gray. That you're important? That you matter on a global scale? No, he says. It's supposed to make you understand that I can't change. I can't become someone different. This is what I am, and it's what I'll always be. Then how is this supposed to work? By you accepting that love doesn't require someone to be good. It just requires them to be real. I turn to look at him, and he's watching me with those dark eyes that have become familiar enough that I can read the subtle shifts in his expression. The careful control. The genuine fear that I'll leave. The absolute certainty that if I try, he'll stop me. I think I'm in Stockholm Syndrome, I say quietly. Probably. He agrees. Does it matter? It should. But it doesn't, he says. And he's right. It doesn't. What matters is that I've stopped fighting the cage. What matters is that when he touches me, I respond. What matters is that somewhere in the past weeks, the line between prisoner and lover has become so blurred that I can't see it anymore. Can I ask you something? I ask. And will you answer honestly? Always. If I walked out of here right now, would you let me leave? He considers this for a long moment. No. Would you hurt me? Never. But I would stop you, and I would bring you back, and we would repeat this conversation until you stopped trying. That's not love. It's the closest thing to it that I'm capable of, he says. It's the only way I know how to hold on to something that matters. Is it enough? I don't answer because I'm not sure. What I do instead is kiss him, and it tastes like salt and ocean wind and resignation. That night, we make love in his room, a vast space with windows that overlook the Adriatic. It's different from before. There's less urgency, less claiming. There's just two people holding each other like drowning. Like the world outside the room doesn't exist. Like this moment is the only reality that matters. Tell me you love me, he whispers into my hair. I do. Tell me you'll stay. I am. Tell me this is real. It's real, I say, and I mean it. The situation is obscene. The circumstances are criminal, but the way he holds me, the way he whispers my name in the darkness, the way he's surrendered to the fact that I've become his only vulnerability, that's real. The next morning, everything changes. There's an explosion. It rocks the fortress hard enough that I'm thrown from the bed. Dante's already moving muscle memory, instinct pulling on clothes and heading toward the door. I hear shouting, hear gunfire, and then he's back and he's grabbing me. We're under attack, he says calmly. There's a safe room. Don't open it for anyone except me. If I don't return in 6 hours, there's a code that'll allow you to access the tunnel system. You take it all the way to the coast. There's a boat there with coordinates programmed in. Where does it go? Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find you. What about you? I handle this. He's kissing me then, and he's tasting like goodbye, and I'm pressing against him because I can feel it the moment where he's decided that losing me to safety is better than losing me to the violence. Dante, I love you, he says. That's the first true thing I've said to you since we met, and it's true even if I die in the next hour. So don't waste it trying to save me. Just survive. He shoves me into the safe room and locks the door. The battle lasts 4 hours. I hear everything from inside: gunfire, explosions, the sounds of men dying. I'm holding myself together by thinking about survival, about the tunnel, about what happens after. But there's a moment, around the 3rd hour, when the gunfire stops completely, and all I hear is silence, and that silence is worse than any noise. At hour 5 and 45 minutes, the lock disengages. I expect Dante. Instead, it's Vittoria, and she's bleeding from a wound on her shoulder. He's alive, she says immediately, but he's badly hurt. We need to move him. What happened? His organization got betrayed. Someone from inside fed information to multiple families. They coordinated an attack. She's pulling me toward the door. Dante fought them, but there were too many. He's in the medical room, and he needs you. We find him in a clinic adjoining the fortress, a private facility that's clearly meant for emergencies exactly like this. He's been stitched together, bandaged, but the blood loss has been significant. He's pale in a way that scares me. You should have run, he says when I appear. Shut up, Julia. I said, shut up. I'm taking his hand, pressing it against my chest so he can feel my heartbeat. You don't get to tell me what I should have done. You don't get to sacrifice yourself after spending weeks telling me that I'm yours. If you're mine, then that works both ways. His grip on my hand tightens. I'm not going to survive this. You are. You're going to survive because I'm not losing you after coming this far. Vittoria clears her throat from the doorway. He might survive. The bleeding seems to have stopped. But he's going to need a hospital. And we need to move. The attack broke their hold on the fortress, but it also exposed our location. We have maybe 2 hours before they realize he's still here. Then we move, I say. We get him to a private clinic in Kotor, a place where Vittoria has connections, where doctors ask no questions and accept payment in Bitcoin. For 3 days, he hovers between consciousness and fever dreams, and I sit beside him holding his hand, watching him fight to stay alive. On the 4th day, he wakes up fully. You're here, he says, his voice rough. Where else would I be? I thought you might have run. When I was unconscious, when you had the chance, I didn't. He's crying, I realize. Actual tears are sliding down his face, and the sight of it undoes me completely. The untouchable crime boss, the man who controls empires, reduced to tears because I chose to stay. I don't deserve you, he whispers. No, I agree. You don't. But I'm not leaving anyway. 6 months later, I'm authenticating a Raphael in a villa that doesn't technically exist. The location is Portofino, a small property on the Italian coast where Dante and I have established something that might be called a life. The paperwork says I'm dead. There are no official records of my existence. Dante is officially dead as well, though he controls far more of his organization from this villa than he ever did from the fortress. He's rebuilt. Slower now, more careful. The organizations that betrayed him have been dealt with, but the violence has been managed with surgical precision. No collateral damage, no unnecessary bloodshed. Just the simple, inevitable conclusion that comes when you move against a man like Dante Rossi. It's authentic, I tell him, pulling back from the Raphael. Early 1500s. The technique is consistent with, I don't care about the painting, he says, and he's standing in the doorway of the authentication room looking at me like I'm the art worth examining. I've gotten used to that look. It doesn't frighten me anymore. You purchased it for a reason, I point out. Yes, because I was thinking about you. That makes no sense. It does. He comes toward me. Because every painting in this villa is here because it reminded me of you in some way. The Raphael because it's perfectly rendered, every line exact, every color true. And that's what I realized. About you, about us. He takes my hand and places it on the painting. You were always authentic, he says. From the moment I saw you dancing in that club, everything I did, every manipulation, every lie, it was just me trying to come to terms with the fact that I'd found something real. In a world where everything else is construction and performance. That doesn't make it okay. I know. But it makes it understandable. And maybe that's enough. I've been thinking a lot about what enough means. I'm not happy. Happiness feels like a concept that belongs to a different person. Someone who doesn't spend her days in a villa that doesn't officially exist. Who doesn't have a man watching her even while she sleeps. Who isn't acutely aware that leaving is theoretically possible but practically impossible. But I am something. I'm settled. I'm safe. I'm loved in a way that's obsessive and territorial and completely honest about what it actually is. Dante and I don't have typical conversations about the future. Instead, we have conversations about paintings and books and the specific way light hits the Mediterranean at sunset. We have conversations about his past and about forgiveness and about whether love can grow in soil that's been poisoned with deception. I think it can. I think it already has. Alessia visits once every other month. She comes through private channels, stays for a few days, and never asks questions about my life. But I can see it in her face, the mixture of relief that I'm alive and sorrow that I'm gone. Marco doesn't visit. The last we heard, he'd decided that distancing himself from both of us was the safest option. Vittoria comes more frequently. She and Dante have built a tentative peace, based on the understanding that she saved my life and he nearly destroyed her to do it. She brings updates on the organization, on the city, on the slow recalibration of power that's happening in Dante's absence from public view. There are rumors that you died, Vittoria tells me one afternoon as we're having tea on the villa's terrace. That Dante had a breakdown and killed you, then himself. It's becoming the accepted narrative. Is that a problem? I ask. No, it's useful. It means no one's looking for you. It means the people who want to hurt you have moved on to newer targets. That night, I ask Dante about it. Are you upset that I'm supposedly dead? I say. No. I'm pleased. It means I can stop worrying about organizations deciding to use you against me. So this is better? This existence, where I'm erased, where there's no record of me outside this villa? He sets down his book. Is it? Do you think about leaving? Every day. Probably. But you don't. No, I don't. Why? I think about this carefully because I want to give him an honest answer. Because I'm a coward. Because you're the only person in the world who knows exactly who I am and loves me anyway. Because the outside world never asked for consent before using me. And at least here, in this villa, I'm acknowledged. I'm seen. I'm chosen. Even if it's in a sick way that should probably require therapy. Dante reaches over and takes my hand. I could let you go. You could. You won't. No, I won't. He brings my fingers to his lips. Is that unforgivable? Probably. But you're not going to leave. No, I say. I'm not. The autumn of that year, a painting arrives. It's a portrait, a Renaissance-era work that's been missing for over 100 years. It shows a woman with dark eyes and a complicated expression. Caught between fear and fascination, the brushwork is exquisite. The emotions are raw and true. Where did you get this? I ask, knowing it's stolen, knowing the provenance is impossible. I had it commissioned, Dante says. A contemporary artist working in Renaissance style. That's you in the painting. That's how I see you, caught between two states. Never fully in one or the other. Always suspended. That's depressing. It's honest. He hangs it in the authentication room, and every day when I work, I see myself staring back at me. A woman I both recognize and don't recognize. A woman caught between the life she was meant to have and the life she actually has. Between those two states, I've learned to breathe. 1 year after the fortress attack, Dante tells me about the endgame. We're on the terrace as the sun sets, and he's holding a glass of wine and looking at the water like he's calculating distances. I'm winding down, he says quietly, passing my organization to people I trust. Within 5 years, I'll have no official connection to anything criminal. I'll be just a man who collects art and lives quietly on the Italian coast. Why? Because I'm tired of being Dante Rossi, the crime boss, and because there's someone in my life now who makes me want to build something different. He turns to look at me. Something quieter, something that doesn't require bodies. You're giving up your empire. I'm trading it for something more valuable. He doesn't say what that is, but I know. It's me. It's this villa. It's the choice to stop moving through the world like a predator and start moving through it like a man who's found something worth protecting in a way that isn't violent. I don't tell him that I forgive him. Forgiveness implies that I've moved past what happened, and I don't think I ever will. The manipulation, the orchestration, the obsession, those things are part of my history now, part of the foundation of what we are. But I do tell him that I love him, and he holds me like he's trying to memorize the exact weight and texture of being loved by someone he didn't deserve. The painting of me hangs in the authentication room, and every day I look at it and I see a woman caught between two worlds. A woman who danced in a club and attracted the wrong kind of attention. A woman who walked into a warehouse and signed away her freedom. A woman who found something, not love, exactly, but connection, recognition, the certainty that despite everything, someone in this world knows exactly who she is. Sometimes, that's enough. And sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep because the trauma lives in my bones, I lie next to Dante and I listen to him breathe, and I try to remember what it felt like to be free. But mostly, I forget. Mostly, I just stay.